Hey, I'm here with Ryan Schnitzler. He is the founder of the Growth Center Agency, and today we're going to be talking about what his experience was like going through the ScaleMyAgency.com program, how he was able to leverage certain aspects of the program, and how it ultimately helped him scale his agency. So, Ryan, really appreciate your time, and thanks for being here today. It means a lot. I'm really excited to get into this and talk with you about it. So, my first question that I have for you is can you just briefly introduce yourself and your agency?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jacob, for having me a part of this interview. It's a pleasure of mine to be here. So my name is Ryan Schnitzler. I run the Growth Center. Essentially what we do is business development for other B2B companies. So everything from, marketing and sales and really revenue generating activities. So me and Jacob actually met, roughly, what was it, 12 months ago, maybe?
Yeah, about a year ago, actually.
About a year ago, yeah. That's when we first formed our partnership. And, we've been working on various different projects and various different things since then. But I first came in contact with Jacob and went through his sales program, right? The Scale My Agency sales program. And, it's done tremendous things for myself, my own personal life and my business as well. And we'll get into those more as as this interview goes on, I'm sure. But just to give you a quick background, that's what I do. That's, what we're doing here at the Growth Center, business development for other B2B companies.
Awesome. Love it. So what challenges regarding sales specifically, what kind of challenges were you facing with yourself and with your agency before taking the ScaleMyAgency.com program?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the sales side of things breaks down into two different pieces. And this is where people are going to find value in the Scale My Agency program. It's not just about learning sales from like a sales process standpoint, but it's actually personal development as well. So there were two things that I was struggling with the most. Number one is the actual, aspect of selling and sales itself, right? Which is there's so many different facets to it. And I didn't understand any of those pieces. As I was just getting my agency started. I had the skill of writing, copywriting, right? I had a couple, I was in the talks with some clients as well, but I didn't really know how to sell to people. I didn't know how to, convince people or persuade people into believing in my product and my service. So that was the first problem, right? And a lot of that was just a belief issue. And, that's the personal side of things. And that's where learning sales and going through Jacob's program, that's where it'll give you a lot of the value, I think, is from the personal development side. And then the second piece is actually the business side of sales. So understanding the sales process, right? Understanding how to actually conduct a sales process, how to take a new prospect from cold to sold, right? How to actually, what kind of questions are you going to ask them on a sales call? What information do you need? How to conduct discovery, how to actually present a proposal to them, all of those different things. I had no idea how to do any of that. And that was, again, super valuable as well. So those were two of the main challenges I was facing. So it really comes down into those two pieces is, the first thing is actually having the confidence to sell what your offer is, right? What your product is. And then number two, it's the actual understanding how to conduct a sales process. That's the second piece. So those were my two main challenges. And that's where Scale My Agency will help you the most if you are struggling with that.
Man, I love that. That's really awesome to hear. So before starting the program, before you kind of got in and really started getting your feet wet, were there any concerns that you had prior to starting the program? And if there were, how were they addressed?
Yeah. So before starting, obviously everyone's before you purchase anything, you want to make sure you're getting the best ROI possible for what you're doing. But, I trusted you because of your past experience in sales, right? You've worked in sales for 8 years, 8+ years, 9 years, maybe now. So you have tons of experience. You've generated a lot of revenue, a lot of new opportunities with the sales that you've done. You've managed big sales team, trained a lot of different, reps around the entire world. So in terms of credibility, I don't think that was, ever a question at all before joining the program. Obviously, general concerns of, is this going to work for me? Is this relevant? Do I need this? because you don't always know what you need, and you don't always know, sometimes it's hard to have that self-awareness to be able to understand what you're actually not good at. And funny enough, people might not want to admit that they're not good at sales because like it might be a hit to their ego. But in terms of concerns, it was never a question of your credibility, is more so probably just my own self-limiting beliefs maybe about what I can really do in the business world and the impact that I can make. And again, that's why joining programs like this and investing in yourself is always essential, because it actually unlocks those different pieces of yourself that you would have never previously unlocked if you didn't go invest in, training, courses, mentorships, masterminds, etc.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I agree. Like once you have skills and once you invest in your own education, those are things that can't be taken away from you.
Absolutely.
Love that. So what were some of the kind of short-term immediate impacts that you had after going through this program? Like what was something that was just right off the bat happened for you?
Yeah, new sales, new revenue generated. My business did grow a lot in the first couple of months after joining in the program. And I was actually able to sell, especially in those first 4 months. Of course, that was like my initial offer for what I was selling at the time. I was actually able to develop an optimal selling strategy for that specific offer that I was selling. Again, these things always evolve over time as you break into new markets. Maybe you're testing different products. My product has evolved a lot over time, and the people I'm targeting and the companies that I'm working with now and the prices I'm charging as well. But setting up those initial foundations helped me get more sales in the door initially. Absolutely. So those were some of the immediate impacts, because what I was able to do is actually develop a sales process. So before, I didn't know what discovery was. I didn't know how to qualify a lead. I didn't know how to actually, propose an offer to a lead, right? How to create a custom proposal. Those were all things that ScaleMyAgency helped with. So I was able to develop a 2-call system. So before, I didn't really have a sales process, but I was actually able to set up a sales process where every time I'd get a new lead in, and a lot of my leads came from inbound. So I'd get a new inbound lead in, then I'd take them through a discovery process. And then if they were a fit, I'd move them on to a second call, right? So just developing a simple sales process. And that's as simple as it can get. Obviously it can be a lot more complex depending on what business you're running and what your offer is, what your pricing is, etc. But for me, it was very simple. Just developing that process allowed me to increase my close rate, and it allowed me to actually understand what was going on in my own sales process and how I was going to actually generate new business. Because before, I was just winging it really. I didn't really have a system in place. But after going through ScaleMyAgency, I was able to set my sales process in place, and start generating new sales immediately. And I was able to see a nice, at least 3 to 4x in my monthly recurring revenue in the following months just right after. So those were short-term results, and long-term I can get into that as well, but definitely short-term, I was able to set all.
Awesome. Cool. So thanks for sharing that. So you mentioned long-term results, and it's been several months since you and I have even worked together, right? Like it's been several months since you've even been through this program, and you've pivoted a little bit with what you do with your agency. And so long-term effects, how has this program affected you?
Yeah, I mean, it set the foundations up for and planted the seeds for lots of future success. I mean, a lot of what I do now is heavily dependent on a really good sales process. All the prospects that I'm generating now, or for the most part, for what I'm offering and who I'm working with, they're all coming from cold traffic. So with cold traffic and outbound prospecting, you really have to have a good sales process. You really have to know how to take the lead from cold to sold. You have to really know how to, how you're going to sell to them and what they need to understand, the psychology of it. So that facet, and learning all of those foundations from Jacob has absolutely helped me. I mean, tremendously. Just set all of those processes in place and then build off of that. So it was really a great foundation for me. And, long-term results, as I'm continuing to build my business, I'm able to charge a lot more now because I understand these key sales aspects. So I've really been able to increase my prices since first starting out with Jacob. I'm probably 8x my prices since then. Of course, like, starting from small, but, built that up now to where like I'm able to charge a lot more than I was initially charging per month, which leads to more, the more money you're able to charge, the more you're able to hire the right talent and actually scale your business and then retain clients for the long term and then upsell them. So there's just so many opportunities, but when you can actually have a good selling strategy, that is like the foundation of everything. So it's really just been a nice foundation for me, and it's going to continue as I'm an entrepreneur. All the other businesses I start in the future, it all starts with sales. So
yeah, I love that, man. Sales is the foundation to any business. Without sales, you got nothing. So you mentioned that you've been able to close a lot of business. You've been able to drive a lot of traffic. Obviously, you're having to deal with talking to a lot of people. So how has this program changed the way that you've approached clients, whether it is on the just kind of beginning stage with your clients or overall building relationships with them?
Yeah. So from a communication standpoint of just like your communication skills and everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it really has just allowed me to understand the psychology of why people, act the way they do. And that's from us selling them, from a sales standpoint, and then as well from client retention and client communication. That's been a super important part as well of what I've learned, because you're constantly, with the clients that you have, you're constantly still having to sell them. It's another form of sales. You have to sell them that things are going well. You have to sell them that, you're taking steps in the right direction, that each month, if you have a monthly recurring revenue business, like they got to become a repeat customer. So you are selling them month over month. So yeah, absolutely. In terms of communication, it's helped a ton. Just, not only becoming more confident as a person and the way in which I speak, that's number one. But number two, just understanding like situational awareness and understanding social awareness and like having the ability to communicate with people. That's been a super important piece of this. So again, like I said, in that initial part, the two challenges I was facing was, that piece of like the communication aspect and like trusting myself, trusting my business and actually being able to communicate that to people. That's number one. And then number two, the actual sales process. But yeah, absolutely. It's been a huge help and I've learned so much just from going through the program and working with Jacob.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I really love to hear that. I'm glad that you're able to communicate with people a lot more efficiently. And when it comes to communicating with people, one of the biggest things that we all know is that you're going to face a lot of objections, whether those are with new clients or existing clients. So overcoming objections can arguably be one of the hardest things when it comes to learning sales. So how has this program helped you overcome objections?
Yeah. That's a good point, because that's still something I'm working on to this day, but understanding what objections are in the first place, because objections a lot of the time it's not because of the actual thing they're objecting. It's usually a deeper hidden meaning, AKA a smokescreen objection. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the time people will give random objections to things, and it's usually because of something that you didn't explain the right way or you didn't convey the value of it enough. Like a pricing objection, it's usually not about the price. It's usually about some other facet that they're not certain on. They're not certain you can get the results that they're looking for. So that's usually what it comes down to. And handling objections is like that's like a very important pillar of sales and understanding sales. So yeah, if you're looking to learn how to overcome objections, and if that's a bottleneck that's holding you back, which it holds a lot of people back, it's like, I've been there before. Sometimes like you just don't know how to handle those last couple of objections and you lose the sale because of it. So actually understanding the psychology of why people are objecting to your offer in the first place, and then understanding how to overcome those and how to actually talk through those with your prospect, going to be super key. And then with clients as well, right? As you're running an agency, clients are going to come to you with stuff. They're going to get mad. They're going to give you little tests and it's all unconscious. They don't even realize they're doing it, but you have to understand that and be able to actively address those things and overcome their objections too. So there's multiple facets to it. It's not just closing deals, but it is, the retention of clients and, other pieces of just running your business.
Awesome. So last but not least, final question I have for you is, would you recommend Scale My Agency program to other agency owners? And if so, why?
Absolutely. I mean, there's really, the first reason is there's no downside to it because you have everything to gain and really nothing to lose, because Jacob does a phenomenal job. He's phenomenal at what he does. His program is great, and he has so many different facets to it too. You get the course access, but you also get the weekly calls. You also get other pieces that normal courses do not offer. So it's almost not even like a course. It's almost like a community and a really a group and a movement, I would say. That's really the biggest thing. So in terms of the downside, like there's really no downside to it. You're investing in yourself. So absolutely, sales is something you'll learn. This is something that you're going to learn now, but it's going to help you in the future for years and years and years to come, because everything in life is sales pretty much. So this is not only going to help you scale your agency, but it's going to help you develop better as a person. And it's going to help you with other businesses that you might be running in the future, other jobs you might be applying to, whatever you're doing in your life. Having the foundations of understanding, like I said, the actual selling. So like the personal, the side of building relationships with your customers, with your clients, with new prospects, and actually selling them on what you do. And then also how to conduct a sales process, which is very important. No matter what business you're running, you need a sales process. So yes, absolutely, I would recommend it, because you're going to get ton of value from it. There's really no downside to it. And, you have the world to gain.
Awesome, man. That's just incredible to hear. I'm glad that this program made a positive impact, kind of, on a 360 level for both your personal life and your agency. And it's really incredible to hear how you were able to have a bunch of different takeaways and how you used them personally for yourself, and how they impacted you. So I really appreciate your time today, Ryan.